people to be able to really create those unique stories and those unique voices. From an engagement and monitoring standpoint, you can imagine how challenging it might be to not only monitor, engage, and respond at the global level, but also at the property level. Well, we have a very unique system where we work at the corporate office to monitor and respond to direct inquiries, but at the same time help our hotels essentially identify guests who are in-house who might not be using the Twitter handle or who might not be mentioning, I'm in Jackson Hole. They might be saying, I'm here at Four Seasons and I'm unhappy, whatever that case may be. So our team at the head office does a lot of social media digging and research. There's a lot you can find online to find out where they're staying and then identify to the hotel so that they can take action immediately while they're still in-house. And that is our holy grail.
And it's a small team.
It's a lean team. So this is an illustration of our extensive, vast digital landscape. You can see that it all centers around the new website that Elizabeth mentioned earlier. And what we love about this website is that it's very tightly integrated to all the global and local social media presence, which really spans across communities in Facebook, in Twitter, geolocation programs such as Foursquare, and a couple years back experimenting with Gowalla. You'll see we have own blog platforms really anchored in meaningful content subjects such as family travel or food and wine, two areas where our guests are very passionate. We also most recently launched in the new social media darlings of 2012 in Pinterest and in Instagram, a great way to tell the travel experience, the romance of travel through evocative photography. And you'll also see that we have launched in Weibo, a channel very significant to China, which is increasingly important to luxury brands, and Four Seasons is no exception. So, Elizabeth was mentioning that we started in 2010 or so, and we were actually the first in our luxury competitive set to launch a social media presence, not only at the brand level, but really empower our hotels around the world to have a local presence. And just a quick snapshot by the numbers, we have in Twitter over 217,000 Twitter followers spanning more than 80 property accounts, which is really a lot for a lean team like us, as we were mentioning. And in Facebook, the Twitter is actually 3 times the amount of our luxury competitors. So we've done a lot of legwork in organic Twitter growth, and I will say this is not including any Twitter advertising. This is just engaging with real guests, in-house, prospective guests and influencers to grow these numbers. Across Facebook, we have close to 300,000 Facebook fans over, again, 80 properties worldwide. And this number is growing very, very quickly. We all know how quickly Facebook audiences can grow. And another primary channel, we'll speak about emerging channels, but another primary channel that we focus on is YouTube. We heard a lot about the power of video today and how it's, especially for something like travel and luxury travel, it's just so important to really show people through photography, through video, all the unique stories across the world.
And it's interesting, social media by the numbers, when we talk about engagement, this is really just pure numbers here. But as you'll see, this is not just about counting the likes, counting the fans. And I think that's come up a few times today, is what does it mean for your business? How is that actually creating a relationship or a conversation with people? And the other thing I should say here, and we've spoken about this before when we've spoken at conferences, we kind of, going back to the screaming man, we kind of just did plunge in to social without a strategy. We kind of backed ourselves into a strategy. And when people say to us, how did you start, or what was your strategic approach, we said, somebody complained about a cup of coffee on Twitter, and so we knew we had to be in that channel. So it was a lot of trial by fire. It was a lot of trial and error. It was us trying it as a brand first. It was us trying it with pilot hotels. But ultimately, what we discovered and what we know to be true, especially from the people who follow our brand and engage with our brand, is that they want the authenticity. So they don't want to hear it just from us. If they are in Beverly Hills, or if they're in Turkey and they're a real fan of one of our Istanbul hotels, they want to hear it from that hotel and in Turkish.
And they do.
Yes, and they do.
So the biggest question we get asked very often is, how in the world do you enable or guide 86 properties and growing, 4 or 5 alone this year, may I add, new openings.
4.
How do you really empower them to manage all these properties around the world when you're based in Toronto in your global head office and they're all based in 35 different countries? So we heard today that you cannot train nor teach someone to be charming, but what you can do is we can absolutely educate, we can train, we can trust, and we can empower, and that's exactly what we do with all of our hotels. And specifically in the past 18 months, we have invested heavily in face-to-face training with all of our hotels worldwide. And this, I think, was one of the biggest and most important investments we've made in social media. And this was followed up by online tools that we then produced. So you'll see a little example here of a social media training site, Sitemap, which is growing daily, which really focuses on everything from the 101, what is Twitter? I'm a general manager and I need to know what is Twitter and why is it important, to how do I create engaging content for Pinterest, to how do I measure my success across bot-owned earned media. So this again, really, really helps to fill the gaps, leveraging technology and online platforms to teach our hotels how they can really leverage this on a daily basis.
An important thing about that is it's not owned by one person at the hotel. So it typically falls to, most of our hotels have PR managers or directors. We have now, some of them have social media coordinators. But what we discovered, and certainly over the last year, this has really been emphasized, is there needs to be a team of people on the property because the business is a 24/7 business. Our business, even though we work at corporate, we kind of see the emails that come in 24/7. So there needs to be monitoring that happens round the clock at the property. And clearly that can't just be one person. So we have worked, and each property is responsible for figuring out who should be on that team. Sometimes it's people from the concierge desk. I don't know who others, Felicia, you might have an example of who else.
Well, actually in Boston, they're kind of one of our great case studies in the stars, Four Seasons Hotel Boston. They have a very extensive team whereby on evenings and weekends, off business hours, someone's always checking in to make sure that no guests are unhappy. We realize that Twitter is sometimes the choice of our guests now. They no longer pick up the phone, they no longer come down to the front desk, they tweet, I don't like my room. So we see that as an opportunity, which we'll walk you through some specific examples as to how we can identify those glitches and turn them into great brand ambassador stories. And in Boston specifically, it's the front desk manager and the front office manager who really help to bring that to life during non-business hours.
So, they're global and local. We've talked about that. Again, it's come up today. It's think globally, act locally. Certainly from a brand point of view, we've talked about the brand promise, the brand tenets, that we want to be inspirational, we want to be engaging and topical. We really want people to dream about Four Seasons. We talk about this moment of peace. That moment of peace might be as simple as us posting a photo on our Facebook brand wall and saying, tell us if you'd like to be here, or, imagine yourself in this place, in this picture. It's macro promotional to a very small degree. It's really, we use our social channels really more around integrated campaigns. Again, we'll get into those specifically in a second. Whereas at the local level, it really is about driving traffic. It really is about putting people in the seats of the restaurant. It really is about booking spa appointments. It's about promoting all the individual events that are happening at the hotel. And this is really the exemplification of that hub and spoke model that Felicia described. The other great opportunity for us, and when we designed our website, we really designed it with a future view that we wanted to use as much user-generated content as possible, not just for places like YouTube or our social channels, but on our brand channels as well. And these are actual examples of some of the user-generated content we've gotten from guests, and it's really wonderful, and it's very evocative, and it's completely real, which is the best part of all.
So here's an illustration of how content will live to life on the global page versus the property pages. So on Facebook, at the brand level, you might see, to Elizabeth's point, like this if you wish you were here, very compelling, evocative photography, topical occasions and events such as Valentine's Day, inspiring us to create a very engaging application that's anchored in love and romance and the experience that Four Seasons can provide for couples, which is an important segment for us, obviously. And on the property level, you see a couple examples of how our resort in Maui is using an unexpected photograph to promote their unique yoga retreat.
That's not the elephants, by the way. Maui is the yoga person.
And in Thailand, bringing the experience of riding elephants during their vacation to life through multimedia. Now in Twitter, some unique brand programs that you might see, you'll see one at the top here. This was something interesting we experimented with called a twittorial, a how to holiday twittorial, through a series of tweet pics, actually bringing all those beautiful stories to life that we were able to curate from the hotels through our resident florists in Toronto in this case, showing how to create a beautiful floral display for the holidays through tutorials. Evocative photos with strong calls to engagement, RT this photo if you wish you were here. And also our very popular local concierge best of city Twitter chats. At the property level here, you'll see an example of Philadelphia, where they're promoting a very specific spa offering that will be of interest to their local guests, their local community.